Hello, everybody.
Tell us about your love life.
Tell
Ashley.
us about
No, what is
tell us about your love life and how that pertains to pharmaceuticals.
I need pharmaceuticals to deal with dating.
Tell us what you're seeing with men these days. I know we had a brief chat months and months ago. Where were we all?
Can you womansplain?
That was in Austin.
It was in Vegas. No.
Yeah.
Wasn't it in Vegas? We were at Aram's thing.
Yeah, I thought there was one in Austin when we went to dinner or something and met up.
Because I'm sure Jamie
Went to that rooftop place and you had that issue. There was the guy. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Well,
Yeah.
there's one thing that's wrong.
Stalker.
Don't stalk. Did you ever find a conclusion to that? Did he actually know you were there?
He said no, but there's no way he did. Do you see how close everyone was together? Do you see?
He was there. He knew you were there. 100%. Of course he did.
He's not an idiot.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
A lot of guys suck these days.
Hi.
We're going to talk about men and women and relationships and maybe doctors of pharmacy.
Damn, I really wish I knew what we were getting into, but
Yeah.
No, this is always going to
we
be...
won't.
This is always going to be off the cuff.
We won't get into it.
Organic materials here.
let's say, I will tell you, I moved from South Florida because dating was horrible dating in South Florida. And I moved to Austin, and Austin's not really much better, just younger, and they're not my aesthetic. So it's also
So you're vain and you're superficial. Got it.
What's your aesthetic?
No. I mean,
Do your best not to describe us. Don't make it obvious.
Yeah, like basically the opposite of you two.
No. The sense of humor is not aesthetic, so I can't say anything, but we definitely need that, right?
Yeah,
true.
Okay, Austin is like the skinny hipster, like tech dude.
Yeah.
So fitness in Austin is like running and rock climbing.
Right.
There's
So you want lifters.
I like lifters, but not like big freaking.
Not like ugly like a Ram Jack.
Right.
Not like
That's
a
too much.
Jack, right?
That's too much.
I'll take it. I mean, I'm having a low self-esteem day, so I'll take that.
Aram has to keep getting bigger because women constantly want him, and he's trying to limit the temptation in his life. So he's like, if I get bigger, I can help reduce the volume of women that are hitting on me.
I don't
So
believe that at all.
that's the only reason he's doing it. There are no other reasons.
Yep.
I want to see a post on that, Aram. How to not attract women in your life. Well,
it's like the disordered eating community that tells you that the reason why you're fat is because you're trying to eat your way out of being attractive to other people because they've disappointed you so many times.
Well, that is something that is real, though.
No, it's not.
That is a real thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
it is.
I'm subconsciously getting fat so people don't want me. Like, shut the fuck up. You're subconsciously getting fat because you're consciously getting fat.
It's not so that people don't want you. It's so that if you were maybe assaulted sexually at some point younger in your life and you're not wanting unwanted attention.
correct.
So
It is like a real thing.
so we're
It's a real thing.
we're bridging pierogies to sexual assault now.
He's so insensitive, Ashley.
Is that that's what we're doing? We're going to bridge
Just censor this whole thing.
Pringles
out.
and pierogies to a sexual assault.
He's going to lose 5 clients because of this episode.
Fine.
There is
Fine. Fuck him. Fuck him if you want.
There is a sexual abuse PTSD connection. Yeah.
I'm sure there
You're a
is.
therapist
I'm
for
sure.
that, not a health coach, but
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. No, I believe
But-
that.
But what? You just said you didn't.
No, I believe that there's a PTSD element, but I think that PTSD can be dealt with very productively without Pringles and pierogies. Am I wrong? Is there not two things that can be true at the same time?
Obviously, there's better ways to handle
Correct.
things, but to say that it's not real.
I'm not saying it's not
that's
real.
not-
I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying it's a fucking cop-out that people can use very conveniently as a blanket of comfort.
I
feel so
it's either
uncomfortable.
Pringles or pierogies or alcohol or drugs. There's some coping mechanism that's not super healthy that people choose to gravitate towards.
I think you should use the one that kills you faster.
Alcohol?
Yeah, that's still too slow. Chase the dragon at that point. Like if you're really that traumatized, I think heroin's your best bet. Because at least like that point, you're either going to be so addicted and so numb to the world that you won't feel the trauma anymore, or you'll just die of a fentanyl overdose. So either way, you've just limited the amount of pain that you're exposed to.
I don't think I support this.
You don't.
You
don't have to. It's practical though.
This was our skit on how two people with completely opposing viewpoints, completely different sensitivity levels, can still be friends.
Exactly.
It's okay you can be friends with people who are different than you.
It is.
You know, and we can still admit that we have a lot of similarities as well. This is one of those topics and discussions that maybe we differ.
That's fine. And
maybe.
That's
okay.
I don't like any of you either, any less. And what a perfect segue into asking.
Because I don't think that you can like me any less.
I can.
Anyway.
I can. Oh, I got plenty of room.
Did Jimmy tell you that he sent me so many photos and videos of the dead deer decomposing?
Like personal, actual photos of the deer, like very close up.
Well, no, she missed. She goes, "What the hell is this?" She just saw like the bony leftover structure.
Yeah, that thing got
and she's
torn
like,
apart
she's
fast.
like, very quick. She's like, "What's this about?" I go, "You missed the stories leading up to it." So I sent her the pictures that were in the stories leading up to that she missed. So I was like, "This was the beginning. This was 24 hours later." And then that recent one was a couple days after that.
I think you have a serial killer in your backyard.
I hope so. We had a fox run by us this morning.
You do live out in the wilderness. It does make sense.
Yeah. If we left a minute early, our dog probably would have been attacked. I mean, I would have screamed like a woman and ran away and let the dog die. That's just me.
I think the dog would have fended for itself just fine. That thing's not small.
I'd have been like, ah,
like,
and then ran away.
That dog would have been instinctually been like, what do other doodles do?
It's a little golden doodle. He's like maybe 15 pounds now, but this fox was sprinting across the street and then cut across our front yard. Yeah, I like being out here. A lot of turkeys are showing up.
Ooh, that'll be Thanksgiving fun.
Where do you live, Jimmy?
Jersey.
I live in New Jersey, the Garden State, but my house backs up to the woods, and so we get, tons of deer. There was probably, like 8+ turkeys hanging out in the backyard earlier last week.
Coming to your place for Thanksgiving.
The fox.
It sucks that you're
They're fresh, organic.
That you're a woke liberal and you won't hunt.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I wish.
Just go out there and shoot something, or hire a Republican to go out there and shoot something for you.
Yeah.
At least that way you can have some organic grass-fed meat.
Yeah, I wish I was a hunter. I wish I was exposed to that when I was younger.
Me too. I've always wanted to shoot something. I've just never.
I have a taste for blood.
You know what you could do? Go to Florida. This is the red state, Florida, even though the liberal cities are like Broward and where I used to live, Miami.
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale.
They hire companies. What?
The Fort Lauderdale area.
They hire companies to go out and shoot iguanas, like with airsoft guns.
Why?
There's
they're overpopulated. They're everywhere.
There's a show, like a sitcom, about that.
Yeah, about shooting iguanas?
About like hunting snakes and things like that down in Florida. I forget. It was the guy from, what's he from? Not Parks and Rec. Who cares? The Office or something. I don't know. And he was just like, I think, picking somebody up like an Uber. And this person like hunts animals. I forget the name of it.
Was it Nick Offerman? Was it the guy that plays Ron Swanson?
No, the black guy from The Office who worked in the warehouse.
Oh, Craig.
He's great.
Craig.
I don't know his name, but I know what he looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Craig
think
Robinson.
It was him in it. Yeah. I think it was him that's in the show, but it takes place in Florida. It's exactly that. Like they're hunting reptiles and snakes and all this stuff, and it gets wild.
But the iguana, they're not dangerous, so they're not causing any trouble, are they?
No, they're just invasive. Like
are they?
Just everywhere. Mm-hmm. They're everywhere.
I always wish I always want to, because in California we have them too, but they're much, much smaller than they are in Florida. And I wish I saw more of them because they're kind of cute.
They're cute. You can
they
take
are.
one as a pet.
I would if they were big enough. I mean, the small ones. Did you? Fun fact. Did you know that alligators? This is a Florida fact. Apparently, will eat rocks on purpose so that it helps them break up the food that's in their stomach more. Because when the food goes through their digestive system with the rocks in there, the rocks help break up the food more. I didn't actually believe it, and then I looked it up. I'm like, this is actually a real thing.
That's one type of digestive enzyme, but
and then it also helps them. It also
minerals
helps them sink to the bottom of the water because sometimes they can't.
I was going to say, I heard it helps myself some sink.
Yeah.
I didn't know about breaking up food.
So it's got like multi-purpose. But yeah, that's an interesting. Just in case you guys were wondering how to enhance digestion, eat rocks.
I was always wondering about the eating habits of alligators.
So
yeah,
I was thinking of some questions for you while I was showering last night, because I normally think of you when I shower.
Totally normal.
I think of Jimmy, you, other people's parents, mortality.
people's parents.
I think of weird shit in the shower. But while I was in the shower bathing myself, I thought, what would be a good question to ask Ashley? Because I think she's one of the better professionals in our field. And I think one of the most productive conversations we can have is, what are the problems that you're seeing with the clients that are not getting results? And I think when we can tackle problems individually and discuss those at length, and I think that will resonate with a lot of the audience.
Ooh, I like this one, because I'm sure you see it too, like you're saying, right? So we predominantly work with women like 25 to 45, but we do have some menopause ladies as well. So we have like those outliers. So part of the thing that we see, one of them is just like the people who aren't getting results are just not obviously doing what they need to do. They're not being consistent. They're skipping check-ins. So like they're kind of just not taking the process seriously, or just not putting work for the process.
So would you consider it a process-based issue or a personal lack of understanding of what I need to be doing problem?
So I would think it's a lack of understanding, but the way we have onboarding set up, like unless you're literally not reading any of the emails or watching the welcome video or doing any of anything, like you know what the next steps are. It's outlined for you like perfectly. So it's more of a just like, and so I'll counter it too, devil's advocate. Like it's a not showing up thing, but then it's a I'm overwhelmed and I don't communicate that to my coach, so I just stop. I just stop doing what I need to do.
That's my favorite.
Now, we kind of have to be like, we need to know what's going on with you because we can slow it down. Like we can take things off. Like this is totally customizable, and I think people miss that point.
So why do you think that is, though? Why do you think it is that when people get overwhelmed and they've just hired help and they've paid for help and then they don't use the help? What do you think that is?
Because I think, like, change is hard. Creating habits is hard. Like this might come naturally to us, right? Because we've been doing it for so long and it's something we're passionate about. But people who aren't really into it or just starting something brand new, they suck at it. And I don't like sucking at things. I don't want to keep doing it if I'm not good at it right out the gate, right? Tracking macros is a skill. Like this is a whole new thing for them. So perhaps they realize like this is too much for me to take on right now, and they dip.
But don't you think that I guess my devil's advocate point to that would be like, if I didn't know how to change my oil and I hired somebody to do it, well, I guess that's a bad example.
Yeah, but this example would be you hired somebody to teach you how to change your oil over online.
Correct. And
then you're like, am I unscrewing the thing right?
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Do I need a certain wrench?
Getting the dipstick right?
And then, the reality is like, I think most good coaches are relatively available for their clients. I mean, I know I make myself available. You do too. Jimmy does every once in a while when he feels like it.
Not often,
but still enough to keep people paying.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing, is we have to keep the lights on. But if you're available and then people are overwhelmed and they don't understand certain aspects of what their deliverables to you are, I would want to exhaust that resource. I'd be like, hey, I'm paying you. Can we get on a call? Can you show me how to do this? Like, I'd be so interested in learning how to do it. And whenever I have an opportunity to, and maybe that's just me, because innately, maybe I'm just more curious than other people are. Do you think it's a lack of curiosity? Do you think it's a lack of prioritization? Do you think they just have other things that trump and pull their attention away from that thing? I'm sure it's multifactorial.
I think it's multifactorial, but I mean, like you said, we have clients who completely exhaust that resource. Like they are messaging their every move every hour, right? Like, this is what I did. Here's all the pictures. And it's like, cool. And then we have clients who literally will not ask a question. And we're like, please bother us. Like, that's their thing. I don't want to bother you. And it's like, no, you're paying to bother me, bother us, right? All day. Show up to the calls, like do all the things. But you have people who aren't used to putting themselves first. Women are not used to doing what they need to do for themselves. And so they feel guilty asking questions. They kind of, you don't get the super curious ones all the time. You get like, oh, I'm just not doing this right. So,
I think it's just like people feeling stupid. type of thing. Like, this is a stupid question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel dumb asking it. It's simply that. But what do you think, even like deeper than that? Because I think we all know that that's where people would not be successful. They're not showing up in typically more than one way. Do you think that there's something else going on when you have these conversations with these people? Do you think it's just simply they're not ready, or something else that's going on that they're not showing up?
I think the big ones are fear of failing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Their fear of like failing the program or it not working out or just having like disappointing news again, something like that. I think it's boundaries and prioritization. Like everybody gets put first before they do, you know, like kids, family, work, whatever they have going on. So, you know, they're often self-sabotaging without even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I have a ton of these because I deal with it all day and I'm like now on the spot and can't think of it.
Yeah.
But
Well, are there ways to save you? I'll ask you another question. Are there ways when you do have somebody that's like that you do start to pull back, and then like what would be base level things that you're starting to work with people on who are not tracking or showing up at all, but they do communicate enough to be willing to go down another strategy or route?
yeah, so for example, I had this just last week. We have a client who's 6 months postpartum. She's finding it super hard to balance all the things with a newborn. So she is just like, I need to let this, like, she's coming up for renewal. And so she's like, I'm not going to resign because I just can't dedicate the time. Just not taking it seriously, whatever. It's just a lot right now to do. And I was like, nah, hold on, scroll back. So I'm asking her a bunch of questions on what she's finding overwhelming, what is taking up a lot of time, like where I can interject either convenience items and convenience pieces, or we can take back the tracking and just focus on protein, or she can just send us pictures of her meals so that it doesn't seem overwhelming to track. So just make like lowering the barrier of entry and just slowing it down. Because then you're also coupled with people who are like, I want results now. And it's like, yeah, but we can only, like, we need to focus on one thing at a time with how well that we are adhering to things, right? And adherence is number one. So if we're not able to stick to everything right out the gate to get those results super quickly, we can stick with one or two things. And then, you know, so we agreed on two new habits every week, or 2 habits a week until she's good with that. And then we'll add another one. Right. So it was just scaling it back to where she felt comfortable and not overwhelmed, and she's staying. So
Good. So you conned her back into continue to pay you. That's great.
yeah, she's not even my client. She works with another coach, but like, I love that they still feel they can open up with me and share their things. And like,
Oh, so that's where my clients are going. I get it. Thank you. I'm glad you're providing a solution that I couldn't.
just me. No, she's on my team, just not with me as
No,
a coach.
I know. I'm kidding. I think it's fascinating to me that like instead of having a conversation about this stuff, people are just so, and I get that there's a dollar value attached to your participation. So I see why there's an inclination to want to jump ship. But I've just seen and talked to so many people over the last 5 years of being online. And it's really sad to hear the stories of frustration that are stemming from very seemingly simple interventions that they could be taking. And that's, I think, the biggest thing for me as a coach is like, I understand how simple this stuff could be. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it truly is very simple. And just being able to make these small adjustments over the time horizon of a year, because let's say she did leave you. She would be in a much, I don't want to assume that she will be, but I think evidence has shown us that she probably will be in a much worse place without you than with you. That's generally what happens is when they leave and they leave in a hasty way, it's because they haven't built the acumen or the skill set. And then at some point they're going to revert back to old shitty patterns that led them to that frustration in the first place. So it's like, if you just stuck this out and even contributed the bare minimum of whatever it is that you can set the standard for yourself for, can you imagine in a year's time how much further ahead you'd be? And I guess that's the hard part for people to swallow, is because they can't visualize what that's going to look like for later on in life.
Well, right. That's why they're so focused on like instant gratification in the now and coping with food, or like focusing on that instead of long-term gratification. They can't visualize the long-term. But I have a question for you guys too. Now I'm going to flip it. Welcome to my podcast. Since you guys are working too, have you noticed, maybe this is just me and like with employees and with the team and with content and whatever. Do you notice people's like stress resilience is way less? Like they're just overwhelmed and burdened so much quicker now than
Mhm.
before because like the world is just
It's hard.
whizzing.
The war in Ukraine, people are dying in Israel, and the
Yeah,
election's coming up, and my football team lost in the
the
preseason,
economy
and
is not super great.
there's a lot of stuff going on that you have absolutely no control over. So why not worry about it?
I understand what you're saying, but I do think there is like motivation level for anything has become less, and just overwhelm has become so much easier to achieve.
Yeah.
The
I
bar
think it's
is coming down.
Yeah, I think it's a huge culture issue of we're really good at bitching about stuff, and we love using the word trauma, and we love using the word overwhelm, and we love using the phrases of like, self-love and all that, using it in the way of relax, do nothing versus self-love being provide what you need, not just what you want that makes you feel less stress. So I think there's a lot of that going on. Why try so hard? Take it easy on yourself, all of those things. So if I can constantly talk about feeling overwhelmed, then I'm getting sympathy from people and I'm getting that attention from them in that way. So people will lean into that. That's what I feel like I see a decent amount of. I know I'm super insightful, so that was very overwhelming to receive all that amazing information. But let it soak in for a second.
Yeah, just let it marinate, because I think that.
We're glamorizing pity parties.
Yeah.
And listen, and I never want to invalidate, because I think sometimes I'll say stuff on this podcast.
No, not at all. We didn't start this podcast off with you invalidating anybody in any way, shape, or form.
Listen, at the end of the day, I'm allowed to joke on the platform that I've created, but I'm also, when you work with me in person and you actually explain to me the deepest, darkest problems that you have, the last thing I'll ever do is invalidate and not listen to you.
Yes.
Overtly. The percentage of people that hide from their problems is much higher than the percentage of people that proactively deal with their problems.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point in this career where, because I was raised by people that shouldn't have ever had a reason to succeed in this world, because they didn't have the resources to succeed, nor did they have the emotional intelligence to succeed, nor did they have the skill sets to succeed. They succeeded by purely just outworking their own limitations and never stopping. So I saw people under the worst possible circumstances, I don't want to say thrive, but flourish to some degree and create a life for the next generation. And I'm just not seeing that level of tenacity anymore. And I'm not seeing it because I think what Jimmy said was absolutely true. I think people are now being rewarded with, hey, like, just love yourself and you're going to be okay. And there's no reason to try to improve, because like, hustle culture is bad, and if you work harder, then you're going to make somebody else feel bad for not working as hard. And we're so hyper focused on how other people feel that we don't ever stop and think about how are we feeling, and how is this taking away from our fulfillment and our satisfaction of life and our journey.
Yeah. How do we cancel participation trophies? How do we get on that movement?
Well, it's funny because the people that we're talking about seem to not even be participating.
They're not.
So
They're not.
we're talking. Do you know what I mean?
They're
Now
not.
It's
there's
like,
a whole new level. There's participating to get the participation.
Yeah, you want a non-participation trophy, a pat on the back for not participating.
And I tried trophy.
No,
but I tried.
I signed up for the team trophy.
I tried.
I signed up for Parks and Rec basketball. I went to a couple practices. I stopped showing up. Do I still get the trophy, even though I stopped going to all the games? That's what we're talking about with people who hire a coach. They sign up, they have their call, they do their first check-in, they disappear, and then they don't they don't get any results whatsoever. And it's difficult. I mean, Aram knows that's why I changed ways that I'm working with people, which can sound I'm helping people try to discover that stuff inside them. And it can sound like woo-woo, like, I love woo-woo too, but it can sound like you're not doing anything, because it's like, hey, we're leaning into trying to discover our strengths, reframe self-limiting beliefs, discover your values, become value-driven in your action steps and all that stuff. And it can seem like it's nothing, but to do that kind of work is tough, to confront yourself, which was what Aram was saying before, it's difficult to confront those things about yourself, those limiting beliefs, which is what you said, Ashley. Like, people don't really believe that they'll be able to make the change. That's, I think, such a huge part of it. That I don't know. It's like that inner work needs to be done, which is not easy.
Well, I know you guys also Aram, did you go to Super Coach?
I didn't, unfortunately, no.
Okay.
He had a wedding. I did.
But I know you did, Jimmy, right?
Yeah.
And I know you heard Nick speak like the second day. He does a lot of like the inner work stuff for business coaching. But I think even what you're doing and helping clients get through that, like as a coach, you have to have a certain level of self-awareness, and you have to have done the work as well yourself to even be a good coach to help your clients through this stuff, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, like some of the things I just went through last week, like I let a coach go on my team, and I had to there's a point where you notice like you're not helping yourself. Like, how can you help others achieve the same thing, right? And it was just becoming this unhealthy thing. So I think that there's a lot of work that clients need in that. And like, where does our scope of practice, where is it like in or out, right? Because some of it can be like a therapy type of scope. But a lot of this is, again, love Casey, but behavior and mindset before we even get to diet and exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people, because I think that in some people, it will be that diet and exercise that totally changes their mindset. I feel like it's like when I first started coaching, it was, this is the thing where you learn all those lessons. You learn showing up, you learn this, and then you start to show up in your life in other ways. The lessons in the weight room transfer over. But to your question, I just feel like I'm seeing less of that. People will get results and still be miserable and still complain about it. It's like they're never happy. Yeah. So I think sometimes, that more internal work might have to happen for them to see the external results. Some people, it might have to be that external. Now, if people can start to do both at the same time, I think it's fantastic. Like, show up in small ways, which is like what you were saying, just a water goal or a movement goal or a protein goal. And then while investigating some of these other things, like why don't you believe you're ever going to change? While you're working on those things, still show up for yourself, and then start to notice how maybe you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, that kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like we're in a weird time.
And even during that whole process, you're talking about it, I'm just going through my mind of like, okay, and then we have to get them away from the scale. And then we have to get them like just changing so many different areas where they think this is what is success, and it's not. And we're totally not even focusing on how we feel, or how clothes are fitting. Whose phone is that? Come on.
It's my computer. For whatever reason, the sound goes in my earphones when we're recording, but the sound from the computer comes out of the speakers. And I can't mute that sound because then it mutes the sound in my ears. It's just like, whatever, reminders and announcements and emails, any alert that comes on the computer. It's a joke. I apologize.
Jim?
I apologize. I apologize for your ADD as well. And
actually,
there we go.
Interestingly enough, Ben and I were talking about the whole ADD thing today, and and again, not to say that it's not real, but isn't there a big correlation between giving somebody that has attention deficit disorder something that they actually enjoy doing versus putting them in a room with something that they don't like doing, and all of a sudden their attention span goes up? And I think sometimes people just don't, like, how many parents push their kids into all these different sports and all these different activities, and it's like, you got to go to this and this and this and figure out what you like. And it's like, you're like exposing them for like a season at a time to shit that they don't even appreciate or realize or understand or have any choice over. And then you label them as attention deficit disorder because they're running from appointment to appointment. You're stressed out. They can't manage their schedule. You can't manage your schedule. And now we have an attention deficit problem. It's like, maybe you're just doing too much shit.
Well, I think when it comes to kids, it's their exposure to the social media things and how quick shorts and reels and YouTube videos, and how quick TV shows and cartoons go for kids these days. And then not teaching people how to harness that. Because I really do believe that something like ADD can be a superpower for a kid if they learn how to harness it. Like Eddie, well, we talked about, was that from a post or from a conversation, Ron, where you were like, oh, it's really great. Take a disability and try to turn it into a super, because we were talking about before. And I'm like, yeah, but you think about like the superhero who shoots lasers out of their eyes. They're like burning their house down and like killing a brother. But then when they learn to control the
Yeah.
lasers out of their eyes, then they're the superhero. So
We're talking about like the show The Boys from Amazon.
oh God, it's so good.
I was thinking more down the line of Cyclops, but Cyclops is the OG
so good.
fire
The
shooter.
opening to that when he just runs through that girl and makes her explode and her bones and jaw are flying around.
It was just too much the second season for like the gore.
Was the second season the one that opened up with the guy who shrinks down and climbs into the dude's penis and then comes back to full life and blows that dude up?
Wow, that
was the
sounds
second
cool.
season.
Yeah,
Oh God,
Aram, you would love this show.
you would love the show. This is right up your alley.
That
dude.
sounds-
It's disgusting. It's perverted. It's
Sexual. It is all
sexual. Yeah.
Sounds like all the things I hate, because right now I'm in the third time of watching Lost and I'm very invested in it because it's a very emotionally driven show, and that's what I am, a man of
Oh,
substance.
you're trying to. Oh, that's who you are. That's nice, man. That's nice.
Yeah.
We could tell from your opening statements this episode. It's really good that you're embodying that.
Yeah, well, you can just keep going and contributing to the degeneration of our society while I'll keep trying to be emotionally uplifting.
As long as the boys keep pumping out seasons, I will do that.
literally
Listen,
and figuratively.
have you guys ever actually watched Lost all the way through, or no?
Yes.
You've seen it all the way. Have you
did.
actually never?
Yeah.
Give it
I had a major binge.
give it one shot.
Great.
Like I think just commit to just finishing it start to finish.
I mean, that's a big commitment at this point.
It is. But I mean, I remember watching it live while it was airing, and talk about ADHD. Can you imagine if today's society had to wait a week for the next episode? We'd be
You'd forget.
fucked. People wouldn't watch
I
television.
forget it was coming on.
Period.
ADHD. How do we get on Lost?
That's what I was going to say. The exact same thing. He was like talking about ADHD. I'm like this topic of conversation.
Well,
The
no,
title of this podcast is like the podcast to nowhere. Like that's
it's
Yeah,
it's a Seinfeld episode basically.
Lost.
It's a show about
We'll just
nothing.
call it Lost.
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 Lost and Maybe Found with Ashley Dwyer.
Yeah.
Lost and Maybe Found.
Well, I think,
on, guys.
but I think that a lot of these things have common denominators because we're watching all of this stuff formulate, right? Like we grew up when the internet just became something, and even back then, like dial-up.
I didn't have it till college.
Like dial-up was fucking annoying as shit. You had to put the CD in, and then by the time you put the CD in, that's how you connected to the internet through your phone line, and your mother was getting on the phone, and that would knock you off the internet. And now it's like everything is happening at just such a speedy moment's notice that we have.
So what's the solution? What do we do? How do we balance? There's the hustle culture.
Yep.
And the masculinity out there, like the Bedros Koulian, who's like beating people up with I forget the other guy's name who runs those weekend camps for $25,000 and they beat guys up.
I actually I
that.
have mine next weekend, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, good luck. There's the alpha weekend, and then there's the emotional stuff. There's whatever hustle grind culture, which I don't agree with, and then there's totally relaxed culture, which I don't agree with. But at this point in my life, I'm starting to lean more towards that.
So are you preaching balance? Is that what you're trying to do?
How do we find that? How do we teach it? How do we get people to this place that we're less frustrated?
Yeah, Ashley, how solve our problems for us?
Teach them patience.
But let me ask you this: is patience, time management, all of these skill sets, are they taught or are they just purely practiced?
I think that's how they're taught.
But I don't think you can actually teach somebody. I think you can tell them this is what it should look like, but it's going to look different for every single person out there. Like how you manage your time is different than how I manage my time, but we both possess the skill set because we figured out what works for us by trial and error. But it took multiple attempts at trying it, fucking it up, and then refining it over the course of some time horizon. And I think that's the part that sucks, is that people are just too quick to stop before it formulates.
Right. I think you have to put the reps in and learn to be uncomfortable with the skill to learn like patience. Like you just said, AOL, we had to wait like an hour for a LimeWire song to download, or like, cassette tapes to record for that song to come on the radio. Like we had to wait for things.
Everything.
And people don't have to wait for anything. Even 2-day delivery with Amazon is like, why isn't it here tomorrow? Like too much convenience and too much technology. So everyone expects things to move at the snap of your fingers. And unfortunately, your metabolism and your body and your hormones don't work that way. We're still very antiquated in that way.
Especially with how broken they are. You know what I mean? Well, no, I mean, when
Do
you're
you know anybody who can help fix them for me, Aram? Can you fix my?
no, but I'm
metabolism?
pretty sure Ashley can still. Can you still prescribe?
I never could prescribe. I could fill.
Oh, you could fill.
The pharmacist.
Right. Never mind.
Yeah.
We need somebody who can. So if we could just find somebody who can prescribe and you can fill, now we have a business model.
Subscribe and fillfitness.com.
What are we going to be prescribing?
SSRIs, sexual dysfunction
No.
medication, whatever
Gonna
Jimmy
want
needs.
Ozempic. They're going to want Ozempic and Wegovy and Zepbound and all
I
those
think they
things.
just want a little bit of Cialis and some testosterone, and that's really it.
Cialis is good.
Yeah.
Women don't want that.
Cialis works great for women.
Great for women. Yeah, increased blood flow.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
New business model.
I have,
Yeah, Cialis for women. It's the same as for men.
yeah,
It's just you take it.
right. You just take it. Just take it the same way we do. Actually, I mean, that's a real thing, though. Like, women can absolutely
Yeah.
take Cialis and have a very similar effect. But they would probably have a better effect if they liked who they were in their own skin sexually. Because I know I
Yes.
always operate at a much better level when I'm
Now
confident.
we've
What we also
the
try and
fourth
help
shift
them
of
with-
this the fourth shift of this conversation. I like it. How comfortable are you guys sexually?
Depends.
I'm just kidding. I just
Depends on
figured
what
that-
I've eaten an hour prior.
Oh.
If I had Mexican, not going down.
God.
Sushi,
You're not going down.
no.
but
Well,
you'll let
no,
someone else.
it's not. It's not going down because there's probably
not
a fart somewhere
Yeah.
very soon.
Have you guys ever shit the bed in the middle of coitus?
No, I have shit the bed as an adult,
Not during coitus.
not
just
during
sitting
sex.
there.
No, just being sick.
Nice.
And it wasn't like one of those like
Did you think it
splatter
was a
scenes.
fart?
Yes, exactly. And it happened while I slept, and I was woken
Was
up.
it
by
solid? Not
No,
solid? Was it liquid?
It was very much loose.
Very loose.
Yeah.
Okay. Chunky or just more like a
No.
brown pea?
Show me the Bristol stool chart, and I'll show you.
It's a 0.2.
It's like he's more
Yeah.
on the one.
It looks like a Wendy's
Yeah.
Frosty.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's about it.
That's tasty. I'm glad we talked about that. I felt like that was important.
Actually, how comfortable
Where
are
are we at now?
you sexually? Because obviously you're the only one that's sexually active in this room because Jimmy's not getting any anymore, and
Yeah,
I've hung it up
doesn't
because I
exist.
just don't care about it. For me, it's
Cialis is
Okay.
Cialis is too expensive.
truly an achievement for me
We're
at this point
celibate.
to have an erection.
We're
So
celibate. We're trying to enhance our
I
lives.
like to really,
spiritually.
I like to feel people emotionally at this point and not physically.
That's the
See?
law talking.
It's the Lost. I was going to say, see what the TV show Lost will do for you?
It's
I feel like
maybe
dating in 2024 makes you celibate.
so got it. So you don't need Cialis.
No.
Are we still talking about helping clients? What's
I
happening?
don't know what we're talking about. Do we start the episode now?
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Other Side Lifestyle Podcast with Jim and Aram. Today we have Dr. Ashley Dwyer on. She's a doctor of pharmacy. She cannot prescribe you anything, but she can fill you up with things.
I don't know why.
She is also a nutrition coach who leads a team of coaches.
One less
less than she did last
It
week.
used to be a full team, but it's not anymore.
Yeah, now it's not a full team. So if you are a coach
my
looking
gosh.
for a job, reach out to Dr. Ashley Dwyer. Just make sure you have your shit together or she will fire you as well. So
This is a great endorsement. This is great.
Yeah.
Well, I
need
mean,
it as my new bio.
I think you are a very reasonable boss, and you probably had all the right reasons to get rid of somebody. And you're
We'll
already
tag the person who got fired in the show notes.
just to make
Look,
sure.
I will say, as someone who has like a team and I had 3 coaches, now 2, but I do really like when you have team members, like I really value the company mission, the values, like all the things. Like I need people to encompass those to coach other people to be this way, right? And if you're no longer aligning with like the values and the mission of the team, you're acting unprofessional, like I don't want that. Like I don't want people like that representing my brand.
Of course,
you know?
because
Like,
it looks bad on
I've
you.
built- I've
Yeah,
built
team-
for the past 6 years.
Yeah, Team BDSM is value driven.
I don't
Is that
think-
not the name?
Oh, sorry.
No. Okay.
Yes, Team BDSM is.
No. Okay. Did I say something wrong?
Team BDSM.
We're practicing restraint.
By the way,
Oh, look at that. That was good.
Wow, guy, I don't know how the fuck do you not have a boyfriend at this point? You're so charismatic. You're above
I'm working on
averagely looking,
Wow.
and I mean, I wouldn't immediately throw you out of bed.
I could log off. I can come back in a few minutes.
This is now a dating show.
Yeah, it's now.
You guys should just bring on bachelors. You guys are men. Do you not know any men in this space?
No.
This is
in this space, would you want to date somebody who is a fitness coach?
Yeah, why not? We have a lot in common.
Yeah, but
some people are like, I won't.
Let's be honest. You know a lot of them at this point, and you know a lot of them.
So why do they all suck?
Intimately.
They're all taken. They're all in relationships or married.
Or in extramarital relationships.
Or not keen on long distance. Like how many of them are in Austin?
That's true.
That's true. But I mean, you would even express that you would do long distance.
I would. It depends where they live. Like, no offense, Jimmy. I'm not moving into Jersey.
Right.
Yeah. Not everybody can handle this kind of heat.
Yeah, I don't.
And I'm not talking about the temperature.
Well, actually, by the way, his gym is really nice and it's air conditioned, and he's got livestock almost all year long. So
live meat.
Between a gym and protein options, I don't think Jimmy's a bad choice. And he's 45. He's not going to be functional for very long, so you can get him at the prime of his life. So at least extract whatever value you can, and then you can get rid of him, milk his retirement package to yourself, put yourself as the beneficiary, and as he slowly fades away, you enhance your cash flow business-wise, and before you know it, now BDSM gets even bigger.
Thanks for tuning in this week. We got nowhere very quickly. We borderline sexually harassed somebody. We verbally abused victims of sexual assault. Saying that their reasons for obesity are not valid.
Not our most controversial episode by a mile. This is mild.
If this is how they all go, I'm really gonna have to start tuning into more.
It is pretty much how they.
How do you guys get snippets to post?
It's difficult.
Well, the last time with Lexi, I think the best snippet we got was me talking about edging.
I don't remember that snippet, but
you sent me that.
That's also part of Team BDSM.
Edging, yeah. Well, here's the reality. We talk about nutrition and fitness to death. At this point, if you don't know how to get that shit figured out, and you've been following any of us three or any of the other good coaches out there, you've seen the practical, tactical, applied it to yourself information for years and years and years. And the only reason why it hasn't stuck yet is because either you haven't tried it for long enough to make it stick, or you've tried it in a way that didn't fit your lifestyle, or you haven't committed to working with a professional. So at some point, it's either you're going to have to figure it out on your own, or you hire one of us three or one of us 20 that the million options that we've given you on this website, on this show. So it gets to a point where like we have to have fun with this show, and we have to say crazy, stupid shit because people know that people know they should be drinking water and walking and lifting and eating more protein and vegetables and fruits and going to bed at 9 o'clock. Like none of this shit is new to anybody. So it's like outside of just behavior change, which is like the most broad good luck term out there. Like, hey, fix yourself. Like, yeah, we know that. We get it. So we talk about, weird shit.
What about, okay, mixing relationships with nutrition and results and all those things. What about the people who, because I've had clients, women, obviously we work with women, whose husbands have been like super unsupportive or really shitty and then sabotage their results or don't want them getting more fit, don't like them getting more fit. And so that's a big thing. I've had a couple of clients like that.
I've helped a lot of my clients get divorces. Legit. We are
multifaceted.
I've talked a lot of my women through realizing and finally recognizing that, hey, this guy is dead weight. He's been holding you down for the last 20 years. You are the caretaker of every single person in your family. He has contributed nothing but sperm, and it wasn't even that good to begin with.
Not even, yeah.
And even that, and you could have gotten that surrogately anywhere. They're selling it by the drove now. And all you do is you stay.
I'm just picturing like gallon buckets being shipped to your house. Anyway, go ahead.
I have a storage facility here full of it if you need any of it. Because I don't know what's going to happen with me.
If I ever decide to go that route of sperm bank to have kids myself, I'll let you know.
I mean, I think I would make a decent sperm donor. Like I'm 5'9". I have decent intelligence. I'm relatively attractive. I have okay features. Like you're not going to get like
that was one of the worst sales pitches for sperm I've ever heard.
Like Chris Hemsworth is not going to be the product that comes out.
What the hell? You're like, I think I'm a good candidate. I'm 5'9". I'm average looking. I have okay intelligence. Mildly attractive. Like that was one of the worst sales pitches ever.
Yeah,
hey,
but you're gonna get.
Do you want to have a kid? Do you want somebody super kind of sub-average, but like a little bit below, but like not that bad?
Tenacious as fuck.
I was getting to the highlight reel. It's just I wanted to get through. I wanted to get through the muck first because I don't want to sound conceited. I want to give you reality.
I think you should.
When you're selling your sperm, you should sound conceited.
That's true. But I think
if we were to put our sperm up on auction, mine would go significantly higher than yours.
Yours?
Oh yeah,
I think so. I think
5'10".
That's true. You do have an inch.
Slightly more than mildly attractive.
Yeah, that's true. You're more people's cup of tea than I am, for sure.
I'm just kidding.
No, I
you
agree.
Also have a child, so you could be like, this would be an example. Kind of.
Yeah, here's an example.
Yeah, like I was able.
I just wanted to show you.
I mean, I had 3 abortions. That counts. I didn't personally have 3 abortions, but I purchased 3 abortions.
Oh, don't tell us things.
If selling eggs and egg retrieval was simpler, we could make a fortune on that.
It really. I've heard it.
That's a nightmare process.
Yeah, I've heard it's not
terrible.
It's
terrible process. Yeah.
Why do you know it's terrible?
Me?
Yeah.
Because that's how my kid came into existence.
Yeah, but like it's not like they extracted the egg from you.
No, but he saw.
Do you know anybody who gave birth?
Plenty.
How would you describe the birth process?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I think it's awful. I would never want to be anywhere near that.
Oh, so you do think it's awful? Do you think it's probably painful from things you've heard?
Super painful.
Oh, how do you know? You didn't do it.
Because
fucking idiot.
Have you ever watched a video of an egg retrieval?
I was in the room.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
It's awful. It was not pleasant. It was very, very painful.
Comparably to birth. What was the difference?
Well, I don't know. She had an emergency C-section and that was also a bad process.
Traumatic as well. That's not
and then like the drugs were wearing off. She could feel them cutting into her.
Oh God.
She's vomiting while it was happening. She had a terrible experience with both. But
this is why when men complain about just getting a vasectomy, I'm sure egg retrieval is more painful than just getting snipped.
We've already.
I talk about that. I talk about that in like with the seniors, with teaching health class with seniors. I go, this is why the men and women in this class need to know about vasectomies, because one day, ladies, you might have some guy that's going to tell you this is awful. I'm not getting this done, and then I explain how much of a simple process it is, and how it's not that big of a deal. But I did have one friend who one of his testicles swelled up to about the size of a softball.
But that's rare. That's not the average.
It's very rare. Very rare. Correct. Very rare.
We already talked about it. If I ever ran for president, my platform would be that every man born has a vasectomy and then has to earn his way back to get it.
You have to earn the reversal. I think that's a great idea.
Can you imagine how amazing? Like, America would be great immediately.
That's the plan for Make America Great Again?
Yeah,
that's it's sounding very Hitlerish, but
it's sounding very Handmaid's Tale.
I'm not killing.
Very Handmaid's Tale.
I'm not killing anybody. I'm not removing life. I'm just incentivizing. I'm just incentivizing.
You're like, how can I do ethnic cleansing without killing anybody?
There's nothing about ethnicity at all. It's just, I mean, there's certainly certain ethnicities that tend to breed more than others, but that's purely just a numbers game. There's just physically more Chinese.
I'm feeling.
Are there just not?
This has been the most uncomfortable episode.
Let me ask you this:
so far.
when there's 1.6 billion of a certain demographic, would it not make sense that that group of people fucks more than the people that have less people? Like, there's less Armenian,
and we should explore that.
There's less Armenian people in the world, so when they have sex, that's a lower percentage rate than Chinese people who have sex. So by default, mathematically, there's just more Chinese births. That's just math. I'm sorry. Like, that does not mean or bad.
There's more people. Yeah, I don't know.
It's true. Sorry. If you can't handle the truth, then you're just not ready for it.
I just don't even understand. Like, that sounds like a really made up statistic. You just talked about how many Armenian people have sex.
There's not many in the world left. So when they do have sex, it's like a miracle.
Okay.
Like an endangered species.
Armenian people are an endangered species. There's not many of us left. We were either killed by the genocide or we were killed by alcohol.
Jimmy, how many topics have we talked about on this
17.
podcast
I don't
today?
know. I forgot to.
Fine. You know what?
You know what I'm looking forward to? You know what I'm looking forward to? The AI generated show notes that Riverside makes for us. I feel like it's going to be like, on this episode, ... Fuck, where do I start? ...
Aram did say something that is true in that last statement, and
wow, that
it
is
was
true.
just about if the truth. It's about the truth, and I don't think I think in our industry that's a very narrow line now, because if you do say something too truthful that can hurt someone else's feelings, like you may be canceled online, or you are insensitive, and something like that, and you can't coddle for results. So I think that's a big one. And I mean, you both are super truthful on your platforms, which I respect.
Do you is there a person you'd have on an intake call or anything that you'd be like, we can't work with you? Like, what are you looking for when somebody's reaching out in terms of to be able to see success for them?
I mean, right off the gate, right off the bat, if they're just only interested in a plan or their results and not committed, it's not going to work for you, because then you're not really ready to do the work or put in the work. You're just kind of dabbling to see where you're at. Other things that we don't take on are eating disorders, like active ones, or even past ones that we're not quite working through yet, and you're not working with a therapist also, because we track macros. I'm not trying to make anything worse. I'm not trying to do anything like that. Other ones are crazy medical conditions where I'm like, you need a doctor first. I can't. No, that's out of the scope of something. Some woman had some stomach parasite and something, and I was like, we need to go get that worked out for her.
Do you know what it was?
I have no idea, because she was supposed to come back to me and she didn't, but something crazy.
Hermaphrodisia?
Now
that was a made up word. I apologize. Go ahead.
We did so well for 60 seconds.
We did good. I felt proud.
That was good. That's a snippet for sure.
I would like to go back to explore the boundary conversation what women can have with their families and their spouses or their significant others when pursuing some type of a behavior change for themselves, and then at least verbalizing the support that they're going to need. I actually had that conversation with a new client who signed up this morning. I said to her, I just want to put this out there because this might be potentially an issue for you down the line. There's going to be two things that happens. Obviously, you're going to start having to retool the way you prepare food in your family. And since you're the matriarch and you do all the shopping and you do all the cooking, people in the household might not be very in line with that. And it's going to be your responsibility to sit down and tell them, hey, mom is going on this journey. She's unhappy. She doesn't feel good. And this is why she's doing it. So I would like for your, I don't want to say permission, but at least your involvement to be on board, or your acceptance of me being able to do this, so I can feel like I'm not doing this by myself. And then I also told her that there could be a potential situation where you start losing some friend group people because you're starting to create boundaries around saying yes to everything and overwhelming yourself and saying yes to the dinner and the drinks all the time that are pushing you further away from your goals. And that might make you start to become a little bit more secluded. So I prepared her for that. She was like, yeah, that makes sense. I understand. That might be one of the hardest aspects of this whole thing that isn't very well talked about.
Yeah, you'll definitely lose friends by not being as social, not drinking as much, not, them trying to peer pressure you and not understanding what you're doing.
But you don't drink much.
No.
Or often.
I mean, I drink once a week, if not twice a week, to be honest. That might shock people, but
it's very calculated.
I'm very disciplined with it. Yeah. I do 4 drinks a week. And if I'm drinking, it's tequila waters. I'm not getting smashed. I don't have time to be hungover. It's not going to work. But yeah, I don't do shots anymore. I don't go out late anymore. I still want to be home by midnight, at the latest on the weekends. But now I found friends who do that same thing. So I did lose a bunch back in the day of partier friends when I was competing, and that's really hard for women and men. Men, I feel like you guys go through it a little more because you're guys, having those type of conversations sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the whole sobriety thing is becoming so normalized where I think it's just getting to a point where it is almost celebrated now, and people are getting a lot of encouragement for that. I mean, Jimmy, you don't really drink much anymore.
No, I mean, for the same reasons that Ash was saying, it's just not really worth it the next day. This summer, I'd say I probably drank more than I have in a while.
But I think, well,
You know,
let's say you
but
put
not to that point.
like
But
put
it's
you
still
and me in the same room
excess calories
together,
Oh,
when we first met versus now, you
Yeah.
drink substantially less socially than I do.
Yeah, yeah,
You might drink more
absolutely.
frequently without social
Yeah.
engagements than I do.
There you go.
Whereas I pour more of my degeneracy and overconsumption of alcohol into social events because I don't drink
Yeah,
on average on
Yeah.
a Tuesday night because I don't have it at my house. But
Yeah.
how do you ever deal with that with clients? And if so, what are some tidbits of advice that you give them about dealing with that level of seclusion or isolation that they might start to experience?
You're talking to me?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's open for both of you, but you're the guest.
Just asking. No, we definitely see it. I definitely get it. And then we also deal with, on the other flip side of it, is like when you do hit a certain number of beverages, you tend, cognition goes out the window. Choices are just made. I want to eat this. I want to eat that. And I will say, this is from one of my coaches on my team, and I love it. It's called the fuck it number. So we come up with the number of drinks that you can have. What is that number to where after that, everything is just fuck it. I want to eat whatever. I don't care about my goals anymore. What number drink is that? And if it's 4, then we stop at 3, right? So we come up with like that little game plan.
Okay.
Yeah. So we never hit that number. But then we have had where it's a little more difficult, where all you can really do is communication. But we have like wives whose husbands like to drink a lot and like to go out, and then they stop drinking as much, and then the husband no longer thinks they're fun. And now you're getting in this like, yeah, maybe we're not compatible type of conversation, and it's really difficult. But all you can really do is like give them communication tips to have with their spouse and try and like get them on board with the alternatives we're giving them, or
What are those? I was going to say, what are those alternatives? I think that's important to talk about.
I mean, alternatives to drinking, we come up with like other ideas that they could do together. So things that don't involve like a bar or don't involve
weed,
like
weed at home.
Yeah, we're just getting everybody on ketamine instead of instead of alcohol.
Ketamine therapy, the Matthew Perry diet.
Yeah, we're just increasing neuroplasticity instead of.
Yeah, right.
That is huge in Austin, by the way. And you
Ketamine?
can't even say Cali sober anymore. It's Austin sober. Nobody drinks, but everyone's on drugs. Like the hard drugs. I call it hard drugs.
I don't think they're that hard at all.
Crazy.
What?
I think they're actually very easy. I don't consider
easy to do,
easy to find.
Ketamine's not a light one.
Yeah,
I've never actually done it.
Coke, ketamine, GHB, mushrooms.
GHB, I really want to try because all my gay friends do it because most of them are on prep and like they all compete in bodybuilding and they don't want to drink the calories from alcohol. But they're like, if you take a little bit of GHB, you feel like you're drunk and you don't wake up with a hangover. I'm like, that sounds perfect.
Exactly. It's like now we're date raping ourselves.
Where do we find that? Like, I want to do that. That sounds great.
I have a guy. I'll send you his number.
Okay, because I
don't have a guy.
Very
For
difficult.
anybody listening who did not pick up on that, I do not have a GHB guy.
Jimmy's got a guy.
I have a guy.
Unfortunately, I only have legal drug guys. I don't have the illegal drug guys.
Yeah. Well, the legal drugs are good too.
Mushrooms.
Legal drugs are good too. I bought a whole fistful of Xanax the other day, illegally, but
what?
You know.
Illegal,
but they're legal drugs. I guess what makes them illegal is that they weren't prescribed to me per se. They are in a prescription bottle of Klonopin from an old script that I had, and I just happened to put them in the same one to make the illusion that they were prescribed to me.
You know what my favorite part of being a pharmacist is hearing other people pronounce drugs.
What are the most commonly mispronounced ones?
What did he just say wrong?
It's not Klonopin.
Klonopin.
What
did I say?
Extra vowel.
What did I say?
You added like an Klonopin, like a colon versus Klonopin.
It's CL.
Yeah.
CL.
KL.
KL.
K. Yeah, I don't know why I said so. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So look at that. We just got a pharmaceutical grade education.
And I haven't been a pharmacist in almost 4 years. But it used to be like a ton of drugs.
Well, semaglutide, semaglutide, that one gets butchered all the time, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just like semantics and how you say it. But like, why can't I think of one right now? Simvastatin. And I'm like, that's not the word at all.
What's that?
Or Simvastatin. It's like a cholesterol medication.
Oh, okay.
That was a stat.
We're just like missing letters a lot of the time. We're just throwing it out there.
So what
Advertisement.
what are the
I don't
best
miss
drugs to take?
Huh?
What are the best drugs to take?
New topic. All right.
If you were to, what are your
stressed out about meeting your coach's goals? Try Xanax.
Klonopin.
Try Klonopin.
What are the top 5 safest drugs that you can take as an adult?
What are you talking about? What kind of a question is
what
that?
Purpose?
Yeah, it depends, man.
Multi-purpose.
You got. What does that even mean? Mushrooms and weed. Those are the most safe. Those are the safest drugs
That's
you can
true.
take. Those
It's
two.
not like they teach us about Schedule 1s in pharmacy school, which would be all of these drugs.
That's true.
What's the safe? What antidepressant can I take the most of before dying?
Oh, I do
Rob's
have an actual question. Are SSRIs?
I do have an actual question.
Are SSRIs and like the things like Xanax and stuff like that? Do those consider to be habit forming?
Xanax, yes.
Okay.
SSRIs, no.
They're not.
SSRIs are not, no.
So do they build up a tolerance in your system to where you have to at some point take a higher dosage of it to get the same effect, or no?
No.
Oh, really? So if you take an SSRI that's prescribed, you can stay on the same dosage, get the same effect for the duration of the usage?
Yeah, but I will say there is a thing like 40 to 50% of people who are on SSRIs will gain weight and will be hard to come off. So if you have clients on that.
What's the mechanism of action there? Why does that occur?
Great question. I wish I could remember. No, I feel like I do know this, but it is more about like eating and affecting your serotonin, which we know is like produced in the gut. So you will eat more. It can lower activity. It's more of a compounding effect or a causational effect than what's the word? Why can't I think of my science brain right now? We've been talking about too many dumb things that now I forgot.
I mean,
the
some
smart thing.
people say dumb, other people say entertaining. So perception.
No, I agree. It's been entertaining for sure.
I think this might be our highest performing episode.
Correlation and causality.
Okay, so what? But why is it increase appetite?
Yeah. Have you ever taken like Lexapro or something? Like
No,
that does?
the only thing I ever took that I was prescribed to take was Klonopin. Which is considered what? That's not an SSRI.
No, that's a control 3. That's a benzodiazepine.
Okay, because that's like an anti-anxiety, like in the moment, reduce an anxiety attack medication.
Right.
Or put yourself to sleep after a 2-day coke binge medication.
Sure.
Yeah, that was always usually my use case for it. But tomato.
I lost us. Oh, we're on Riverside. That's why I was like clicking Zoom. Like, wait a minute, we're not on Zoom.
She got so bored. She was just like wanted to start a new meeting with new people. She jumped over to Zoom.
Just left. This is the highlight of her day. Okay, she's probably.
I love this. I was looking forward to this.
She was probably eating.
The key word there is she was looking forward
and then
to
started.
And it happened. Now I'm on the call.
And
yeah,
then she
and
no longer
that
was looking
feeling.
for it. Yeah.
Now you're questioning all your instincts.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
How
Yes.
many clients do you get on medications and stuff that you like that you pay attention to or know what to do with, or?
I've never been prescribed any medications. I'm being dead serious.
You, clients.
Oh, I thought you said you.
I usually just ask you honestly.
Fair.
Honestly, nothing that I have encountered has ever raised an eyebrow and been like, I've never seen that one before. I don't know how to deal with it. It's very rare. Like, so I did have a person that had some rare autoimmune disorder that she was being medicated for, but it was very much. I think she was taking some type of rheumatoid arthritis drug for it, so it was like an autoimmune suppressor.
Yeah.
Which just basically what was that?
Probably an injectable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that had the very similar side effects or effect. I don't even like to call them side effects anymore because there's just desired effects and undesired effects. And that's what it was.
I think the one I was even joking that I was going to change my whole business model to like helping clients on weight loss drugs or getting off of them because it's just insanity. But
I mean, I mean, people shit on all these drugs and like Ozempic and all this stuff, but I think there's, listen, if if your life is being threatened by your obesity and your quality of life is so in the toilet that this can provide some level of reprieve for you in the short term, and maybe that boosts your motivation to then take action afterwards, then I'm all for it. Go ahead. I think it's great.
I definitely am not against them. I just think we need to be doing like diet and lifestyle changes at the same time, not just using it.
No, of course. And I think
It's just
that,
giving out
yeah,
so much.
I think the context in which it's being provided very often doesn't come with a lot of care attached to it. It's just basically like the drug is going to, like, I'll give you a perfect example. I have a buddy of mine who's 360 pounds who,
Ew, why are you friends with him?
because I've had to be
Obviously.
since fifth grade.
Obviously.
But like he's a weekly smoker, drinker, cocaine user, shitty eater, doesn't sleep well, high stress. And last week he texted me and he's like, "Hey man, I just took my first shot of Ozempic," and I'm like, "Perfect. You just fucking fit the stereotype perfectly. Thank you for being another example of people that shouldn't be on it."
Hey, but do you think that is he lifting and everything or no?
He hasn't lifted since high school.
Oh, he's not. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe if he loses like 100 pounds, like you said, it'll give him the motivation to start lifting.
I don't. I mean, the listen, kid's a fucking ex D1 athlete. Like if he doesn't have motivation to lift because he had it at some point, I don't know that losing any weight is gonna get it to him. It's one of those things where he's admittedly said self-care is just not a priority for me. But then for whatever reason, he immediately went and jumped on this opportunity to take the drug. And I'm not going to I'm going to encourage him and say like, "Hey, listen, as long as I gave him the rundown. I'm like, "Hey, eat 80% of your ideal body weight in protein, try to get some physical activity back into your life and do all that stuff and just at least be an informed user." But I don't know whether he'll follow through with any of it. I don't know if he's going to clean up his diet. I don't know if he'll include more protein and vegetables and fiber. Like I hope he does, because his father just had his second bypass surgery. His grandfather died at 60.
Right.
Like he doesn't have good genetics. He's already had AFib and all sorts of heart issues so far. He's 40. Like I don't want to have to fly home for this kid's funeral.
What's crazy to me is what it takes for some people to reach a point of like, okay, now I need to make serious changes. Because you have this all running in your family. You've seen it time and time again of surgeries and early death and cancers or whatever, and it still doesn't motivate you to change. Like, what do people need?
I don't know.
Like that diagnosis themselves?
I don't know. I
think even now that's not going to be enough, because we can manage symptoms.
Yeah.
Put them on a pill.
With everything. It's I think this is the ultimate challenge for everybody, and then for us being in the space of wanting to help people, it's tough. You get to this point where you're like, I don't even want to help you anymore. Like it goes from like wanting to help so much to just, I can't do this if you're not invested in any way, shape, or form.
That's the thing. I was like, we can't want it more than you want it, right? And like that's why I got out of pharmacy, because I was just handing out the Band-Aids over the counter to symptom manage instead of changing the lifestyle. So this is way more rewarding, but it's also like you need so much more convincing. It's like
which is crazy to me, because it's like I'm convincing you to improve your quality of life, which you've expressly concerned for.
I'm convincing you to want to feel better every day.
Yeah, like why do I have to convince you to feel better? Which is that's what's, and I think it's because innately people are still making these changes in hopes of a physical change. Like it's still an aesthetically driven pursuit for most people. That's really what it is. And I think if it started to get rooted in their quality of life, in their self-care, in how much better their lives are going to be because they're operating at a higher level, cognitively, energetically, whatever, it would become an easier decision to make. But when people become more conscious, like just through the process of becoming more conscious and self-aware. I mean, nobody is going to live the exact same lifestyle they have now while being heavy, lose weight, and feel amazing, or their life be drastically different. They're still like, if you're taking Ozempic and you're not changing anything about your lifestyle, you're not all of a sudden just going to like start going on hikes and being this adventure and like playing with the kids and all that stuff. No. And it's like, I've seen it with people. Nothing changes in their life. So it's like, you have to start thinking, what do I want my life to look like, instead of just what do I want my body to look like?
What I'm also personally concerned with that drug and what I voiced at the beginning, and it's kind of showing too, is either like, A, it's not supposed to be something you come off of, right? It's like a lifelong drug. So if
Right.
that's the route you're going to choose without lifestyle changes, prepare for that payment every month, right? If it's covered under insurance, cool, but eventually it won't be because you won't meet the BMI standards, right?
Yep.
But then two, what I'm worried about is the eating disorders that are going to come from it, because women are going to be afraid to eat more
Yeah.
to gain the weight back that they lost on Ozempic. I've already seen it happen a couple of times over, even from popular like TikTokers who are now like, ooh, I was going out partying and drinking on the boat and I gained a little, so I'm back on my dose of Ozempic, like Monjaro. Like, what? That's
Yeah.
disordered as hell. And then two, we know what happens when your appetite is stalled, right? They're eating 800 calories. That's how they're losing weight. And that's how they're losing muscle and all those things. Women cannot thrive on 800 calories a day. Your hormones are going to go in the shitter.
Yep.
You're going to lose your hair. Like, we know what's going to happen. And the only way to correct that is to eat more. And they're not going to. So these are where the pendulum's going to swing so far the other way, that now in a couple of years, when people start seeing the results of being on it for so long, yeah, you have better insulin sensitivity, but your thyroid shit and you have no sex hormones, like, because you're eating nothing.
Everything,
so now we're going to have to learn the right way to do things
everything
again.
comes at a price, unfortunately. I don't think that price is ever explicitly given to these folks. And I think it's just like, I see how frustrated you are. I see that you have a physical problem that we have to fix, and that we have a solution for you. And it's a very viable solution that's relatively, I don't want to say safe, but it's relatively safe. It's not going to kill you anytime soon. That's the thing. It's not going to kill you. Let's put it that. Unless you get some crazy extreme case of pancreatitis or gastritis,
Gastroparesis, yeah.
it probably won't kill you. It's not like if you give somebody the wrong dose of fucking insulin, they just go into a diabetic coma and they die. Like,
It's
you're
not
not
going to work that fast, but
Yeah.
you could be one of the people who have the side effects from it. Which, is it worth it just for vanity weight, right?
If it's truly a vanity concern. I think if it's truly a health concern, absolutely.
That's different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's not even a doubt in my mind that you should be on it. And let's say you do have one of these appetites that are just extremely uncontrollable, and you've truly exhausted mental health resource. You've gone down that rabbit hole. I've really tried to manage this and I just can't. Maybe this is the next step for you, and it provides some level of comfort again, and you start to get your life back and you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But I've had people that are on just above the baseline dose of it who've reported almost no appetite suppression whatsoever. Yeah. And I was talking to one of my clients last week who's been on it now for a month, and like, what have you noticed? And she's like, honestly, my joints feel a little bit better. I feel maybe a little bit lighter on my feet with a little bit more energy, but like, I haven't really lost any weight. My appetite's not any lower. I don't have any food aversions. My stomach feels fine. So it's almost like she's taking like a light dose of metformin, if anything. Like, that's kind of how it sounds, which that's another great option as far as a drug is concerned, with very little cost and relatively decent benefit. But I think pharmaceuticals are great, and I think there's an absolute use for them. And I think it's the responsibility of the people that are dosing this stuff out to people to talk about it. And really, the best care model that would exist would be us attached to these practices, helping them manage their patients.
I agree, because all you have is med spas being like, here, get this much for 3 months for $500. Here's our special, and the med spa has some PA that's filling the prescriptions for like 70 med spas.
Yep.
Yeah, they need to be attached to a health coach for sure.
Because you said the lifestyle piece is intricate in this stuff. Because if you want to have somebody,
business model always,
that would be. I mean, but that's the reality. But now it's like, okay, what is the cost basis of that type of a service, and what can people truly afford? Because I've seen people give up on coaching, but then go spend, what is it, upwards of $300 a month for Ozempic.
That's not like more. On the lower end too.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Like, what is it like on insurance? Obviously, it's probably pretty inexpensive.
Like $25.
Yeah, probably most people aren't on insurance.
So what in cash pay? What does it range? I don't even know.
Oh, well, okay. So this is different, because if you're getting it from the pharmacy and you're getting the pens, which are the FDA approved ones, the pens are like $1,000 a pen. Like, they're super expensive.
That's one dose?
Well, I don't even know how they're dosed now. Whether there's several doses in it or.
I feel like I was hearing people are paying in like the $500 to $800 a month range.
It depends on what your insurance is covering, what type of insurance you have. If it's for obesity, if it's for diabetes, like what it's for. But those are on shortage. So that's why compound pharmacies are allowed to compound semaglutide and those type of things. And then those vials are much cheaper, but they don't come in a ready dose pen. You have to stick yourself with a needle and syringe. Those also run the risk of like contamination and not being mixed properly. And those are anywhere from $300 to $500, but it probably costs the pharmacy like $45 to make.
That's unbelievable. So it's just
like what they're getting it from cost.
So it's a 10x basically markup on something.
They're swimming in profits with this medication.
It's the Grant Cardone of drugs, 10x.
10x.
It's the Gary Brecka of drugs, 10x.
That's why you have people like Weight Watchers partnering up with them, and like every other weight loss service partnering up with these medications, because it's a drug, it's a cash cow.
And that's our future, unfortunately. This is what we're as health coaches going to be fighting, is this stuff.
Well, it will be better once the shortage is over, because once the shortage is over, they can't compound it anymore. But
they
I don't see
can't?
that happening soon.
But isn't
Only
it
when a drug is medically necessary and unavailable can compounding pharmacies take advantage of it.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
It'll be interesting to see if there's like a high rate of just all these side effects that people are discussing, and then people going, okay, I can't live like this. I need to get my shit together. I got lean, but I'm weak as hell. I'm sick. Like you said, hair's falling out, all these kinds of things. I just can't live like this. It was cool for a little while when I felt skinny and everybody was saying stuff. Oh, you look great. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, did you die? And you're now back alive?
Yeah.
You look like you're dead.
You on chemo?
Face, like you look very drawn. Women are getting color to replace that. I've seen it where they just have so much nausea, vomiting, or constipation that it's not worth it to them anymore. So they stop.
How much do I have to take to just get constant diarrhea? Because that's probably one of my favorite experiences. One of my favorite activities is just diarrhea.
Just take Miralax. Just like prep for a colonoscopy.
Chug a saline for that. Just chug some eye drops. You're fine.
Is that true? Does that really work?
It like pours more water into the stomach. Yeah. So
perfect. Is that why when people like would drop, like in Van Wilder when he did the eye drops into the water, that's why that does work.
Find out. We'll find out at the Real Coaches Summit if
please do.
His pants on stage after we dose him.
Staying away from you guys.
I'm putting a napkin on every cup.
I'm filling up the coffee pot with it. I'm going to be the first one at breakfast. I'm going to be like, wah, wah, just shooting it in there.
I just got the price for the coffee jug. Please don't do that.
No, but they'll all still drink it. You'll get your money's worth.
It's at Caesar's now.
It is. That's where Caesar actually lived.
I think I heard that. I heard that.
He did, yeah. Well, see, we came back to a better direction. So if you were gonna put a bow on this and you were gonna give somebody the best advice they've ever heard in their life, what would that be?
Oh my gosh.
You've dealt with enough people. You've watched enough people succeed. No.
I know, but I'm like, what is just like the simplest fucking...
I think you said before, patience. I mean, I think it's like what you said before is that patience, and there's no shortcut. It's like finding what thing you are able... That's what I felt like I was getting from what you're saying. What are you able to commit to, even if it feels like too little, and practice patience, because that's really the only way to learn it. That's what I gathered. I know your brain is fried from the way this was going.
Yeah, there's just so many directions. The fact that we're still having ideas is nuts. I think what I will put a bow on and why I love coaching so much is the individualized approach. Like if it's too overwhelming, you can scale back. What works for Aram is not going to work for Jimmy. Yep. What works for either of you is not going to work for me. What works for me is not going to work for my coaches. And it's because of the lifestyle you're living. Like I don't have kids, so I can do things differently than a mom who has kids, or I'm not in menopause, right? So all these people are trying to just do carnivore and keto and any type of fad diet detox bullshit to lose weight when you're not going to be able to keep that up. What's the point? What is the point? Just to do it for like 10 days and lose some weight and then you're going to gain it back. So the irony of the whole thing is like you're looking for the quick fix, and the quick fix is just doing it correctly from the beginning. Yeah. You can get off the damn roller coaster and nobody, like, you don't believe it until you just get so fed up with the roller coaster that you're like, fine, I tap out, like, I'm hiring you, help me. And you're like, thank God.
I just hope that people...
And then you realize it's so easy.
I just hope that people start getting to that conclusion faster and don't spin their wheels and don't spend more money and don't spend more energy and mental energy, because it does. I can hear it in people's voices how exhausted they are
Exhausted.
when they come
Yeah.
to me. It's like just they're almost like falling into your arms, waiting for the solution to just be like completely comforted that it can finally change. And then it's like, well, hey, I got more work for you to do. I'm sorry. Like there's still work
Yeah, it
to be
doesn't
done.
stop.
It's not that like it's not going to be impossible work, but it is still going to be work. And that's the message I really think that people need to start to accept, is that I have to be responsible and I have to do things, and its assembly is required to some. It doesn't have to take over your entire life, but you may actually enjoy at some point that it's become a part of your life. And that's what you need to be open-minded to.
I think when you were just saying that people are feeling exhausted, all I could think is just surrender. Like, I mean, everybody talks about you have to learn how to let go. And it's like you just have to, if you're exhausted by this process, you're fighting it, you have to surrender to the reality that you know, which is changing aspects of your lifestyle, being patient with it. You have to let go. And even, we were joking around and talk, even though we weren't totally joking around, like the dating scene and all that kind of stuff. It's like at a certain point, you just have to like surrender to it and let go and live your life and trust in life that you'll find that person, kind of a thing. If that's something that you want to think in every aspect of our lives, it's like just learning to let go and surrender.
Ashley, just accept it. You'll find somebody that looks exactly like a cross between me and Jimmy.
It for sure. That what?
You'll find somebody that looks halfway between me and Jimmy with less muscles. And
Well, this is something we haven't, might as well, I mean, it's perfect time. We haven't revealed this, but we are in early experiments with Mike Israetel. They're going to combine me and Aram's sperm to create one super baby. And there will be an auction like Hunger Games to see who's going to be able to reproduce the super child of our joined DNA. So this was the first announcement. I'll mark clip so we can post that as a preview. So we're going to have a super child. Dr. Mike Israetel is going to be leading that research, and we'll be the first of its kind. We're actually going to probably try to impregnate the first transgender female who had a uterus transplant. That's what our goal is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Hello.
That took a turn.
You're welcome. That's what we do. It's what we bring to the table.
So goddamn cute.
Good job, guys.
I want to thank you, and I also want to apologize. This was to you and the listeners as well. It was very uncomfortable for me at certain points, but I love Aram and respect him. I won't say so much. Love him so much.
Enough to still be here, and that's fine.
When does this come out?
Like 6 months. We're so backed up.
A year from now.
This might be like a Wednesday morning, just so that nobody's traumatized on a weekend.
We might just we might drop this one sooner than later, because I think people need a little comedy in their life.
That's fair. And if you drop it in 6 months and life is completely different in 6 months.
Yeah, what if she's married? Can you imagine she's like married in 6 months?
Then we would be like, holy shit, she finally surrendered. Jim was right. Look at that.
Yeah, Jim was
Surrender
right.
to the super sperm.
All Ashley had to do was listen to Jim's advice on a Zoom call, on a Riverside chat.
Or surrender. I just literally change my team name to Team BDSN and I start doing other kind of coaching.
There you go. Or move out of Austin. That's always an option.
San Diego is a lovely place to live.
It's expensive.
So is Austin.
I heard South Jersey's dope. South Jersey.
How far?
That's the place.
How far are you to a Philly cheese? What's the nearest Philly cheesesteak place to you?
20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Oh, definitely move to South Jersey then.
Yeah.
Why would you ask for Philly cheesesteaks in Jersey?
Because you're
right
by
over the bridge from Philly.
Right by Philly.
Like usually people say like where in Jersey are you? I'm like, I'm near Philly, not New York. It's like a 2-hour drive, but there's New York Jersey people and there's Philly Jersey people.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Two different breeds of people.
Wade. I mean, Jimmy's neither.
I'm neither. I'd be closer to a Philly person, but not anymore. Philly's changed. Philly's not fun.
You're more of like a Topeka, Kansas, or like a Boise, Idaho kind of guy.
I just want to be out there in the Midwest and all, and just be around good people.
I think you'd do great in Idaho.
Oh, perfect.
Washington State would be a great place for you, out in the mountains.
I wouldn't mind a little Pacific Northwest. Yeah, maybe once my kid's 18. I was going to say I'll move out there with Will.
Yeah, you can be at Bozeman, Montana. That's probably not a bad place for you.
All right, stop trying to tell us about all the different states you've heard of. Anyway,
Geography.
Ashley, clearly you have more to do with your life that you've never listened to an episode, so you don't know what the final question is. We like to ask every guest a final question so that we can compare and judge you to all the previous guests. You're probably episode close to 150 by now. This will be out no more than 2 months from now. Maybe we'll bust this out earlier. So, are you ready for our final question where you'll be judged?
Probably not, but let it rip.
All righty. Bye-bye.